God's chosen one, this is the moment heaven reveals the truth behind your pain. I've watched you walk through the fire, not because you were forgotten, but because you were forged. Every tear you cried has been recorded, every sleepless night counted, and every whispered prayer heard. You were never abandoned, though silence sometimes made it seem that way. I was working behind the curtain of time, shaping the unseen, aligning the details of destiny that would one day bring you to this very moment. You stood in storms that tried to take your peace, but they could not take my promise. You've questioned the why, the when, and the how. And I say to you now, this is the hour of understanding. What once felt like punishment will be revealed as preparation. The pain that once weighed you down will soon prove to be the wings that lift you higher. I'm pulling back the veil so you can see that nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the loss, not the delay. All of it was divine design. I have been with you through every chapter, even the ones written in tears. And now, as the page turns, you will see that what you thought was ending was really me, beginning something far greater. The long wait was not my absence. It was my craftsmanship. I was shaping patience within you, refining your discernment and anchoring your faith so that when the blessing arrived, it wouldn't break you. You asked me to use you, and I heard you. But before I could release you, I had to root you. Before I could elevate you, I had to empty you. I could not place new wine into old vessels, so I allowed seasons that emptied your hands of what you once clung to. You mistook delay for denial, but I was simply building a foundation strong enough to carry what I am now releasing. Every quiet season was a construction site in the spirit. I was teaching you to rest in what you could not see, to trust when nothing made sense. You thought you were standing still, but you were standing in alignment. You thought you were losing time, but you were being prepared for divine timing. The wait has not been wasted. The silence was sacred. The stillness was strategy. For in the unseen hours I was not withholding. I was weaving. And now, what was hidden will soon be revealed as my perfect timing unfolds before your eyes. Remember those hidden seasons when your prayers seemed to echo into emptiness, when the heavens felt closed and every door you knocked on remained shut. Those were not seasons of abandonment but of anointing. I was stretching your faith beyond feeling, teaching you to walk by trust, not by sight. You thought nothing was happening, but in truth, everything was shifting beneath the surface. Just as the seed must break in darkness before it can sprout in light, I allowed your old identity to crack so the true you could emerge. You cried out for purpose, but purpose is not found in comfort. It is formed in pressure. Every unanswered prayer was a lesson in surrender. Every delay was an invitation to deeper dependence. You looked around and saw nothing moving, but I was moving within you. I hid you not to punish you, but to protect you while your roots grew deep. The isolation you felt was incubation. I separated you so I could sanctify what I placed within you. You were never forgotten. You were being fashioned. What looked like a season of stillness was actually the stirring of destiny. When nothing made sense, when the path ahead seemed lost in fog, I was not confusing you. I was covering you. I shielded you from roads that looked right but led to ruin. I let certain relationships dissolve, not because you were unworthy of love, but because I loved you too much to let you settle. There were doors you begged me to open, but I held them closed, for behind them were distractions that would have delayed your destiny. I saw the tears you shed in frustration, but every tear watered the soil of what's now about to bloom. You thought I was silent, but I was speaking through circumstance. You thought you were going backward, but I was turning you toward better. Even your failures were repurposed. What was meant for shame became shaping. I used rejection to redirect you, and I used endings to escort you into new beginnings. My ways are higher, my timing perfect. I was not late. I was precise. I know the weight of waiting, but I also know the glory of arrival. And now, chosen one, the fog is lifting. The view you're about to see will make sense of every step that once seemed senseless. When you felt forgotten, I was planting you. When you thought you were buried, you were actually being positioned to bloom. Like a tree in winter, you thought the cold meant death, but it meant development. Beneath the frozen surface, your roots were reaching deeper, drawing strength for the season that is now upon you. I hid you for a time so your character could mature at the same pace as your calling. I pruned what could not stay, even when you cried for me to let it remain. I cut away branches that bore no fruit, not out of cruelty, but out of care. You asked me to use you greatly. I had to shape you first. The pain was not punishment. It was proof of my preparation. Every season of silence was a setup for significance. I was never far. I was forming your faith, your endurance, your voice. And now the season of hidden growth ends. The roots have taken hold. The soil is strong. What was planted in tears is about to rise in triumph. The world is about to see what I have been cultivating in secret, and you will understand that nothing, not even the pain, was wasted. You see, beloved, while you were waiting, I was weaving. I was aligning what your eyes could not yet perceive, people, places, and opportunities, all orchestrated in a divine rhythm that only heaven could compose. You thought time was slipping away, but I was synchronizing everything to meet you in the fullness of appointed time. I positioned people in rooms you've never entered, preparing them to recognize you when your name is mentioned. I shifted circumstances around you, sometimes painfully, so that the stage would be ready for your emergence. Do you not know that destiny is never random? Even the seeming chaos was choreography. The setbacks that made you question my plan were actually signs that I was redirecting your steps to safer ground. You were frustrated because you could not see the blueprints, but I was the architect, working every measurement with precision. Heaven's timing has always been perfect. I have never once missed a moment. What looked like detours were actually divine delays meant to deliver you right on time. I have been behind the scenes, weaving miracles into the mundane, purpose into the pain, and strategy into every silence. Soon you will see that I was never still. I was working while you were waiting. While you mourned what was lost, I was shaping what would last. You wept over endings, but I was birthing endurance. I let certain dreams die, not because they were wrong, but because they were too small for what I had planned. I know how deeply you felt the breaking, the job that ended, the friendship that faded, the vision that never came to pass. But child, I was never taking from you. I was trading up. You asked me for stability, and I gave you storms, because storms teach roots to cling tightly. You asked me for influence, and I gave you isolation, because influence without integrity collapses. Every loss you grieved became the soil for something eternal. I never wanted to simply bless you. I wanted to build you. I was strengthening your spiritual muscles for the weight of the promise you're about to carry. I used disappointment to deepen your dependence. I used loneliness to make you listen. You were being refined, not rejected. The things you thought broke you were the very things that built you. Now, when the blessing arrives, it will not distract you. It will magnify me through you. For what I am giving you now will last, because it is rooted in what was once painful, but now made perfect through purpose. Every no you received was a divine yes in disguise. You cried over closed doors, unaware that behind them were snares meant to steal your peace. You thought I was denying you, but I was defending you. I could see what your heart could not. The hidden motives, the unseen traps, the paths that would have wounded your spirit. So I intervened. I allowed rejection to become your redirection, and though it hurt, it was holy. There were moments you questioned if I had forgotten your prayers, but I was answering them in ways that required your trust more than your understanding. I let you stand before doors that refused to open, not because you were unworthy, but because what waits behind another door was always yours. Remember this, when I say no, it is never loss, it is love. I was not keeping blessings from you, I was keeping burdens from you. I never wanted you to chase opportunities that weren't anointed. My no protected your name, your heart, your future. I was guiding you through unseen minefields, rerouting you toward peace. And soon, as you look back, you will see that every divine redirection was an act of mercy. What once felt like denial will soon reveal itself as deliverance. Even when your prayers seemed unanswered, I was not ignoring you. I was interceding for you. There were times you pleaded for doors to open, but had they opened then, they would have crushed you under their weight. I saw what you could not, the preparation still needed, the maturity still forming. My silence was not disinterest. It was strategy. I needed to strengthen your foundation before releasing you into expansion. You thought your faith was failing, but it was being fortified. You learned to pray without proof, to worship without reward, to trust without tangible signs. Do you see how powerful that made you? You became unshaken by delay, because you discovered that I am still good, even when I am still silent. That kind of faith shakes hell itself. Heaven was never ignoring your cries. We were preparing your crown. The unanswered prayers were actually unspoken promises being perfected in time. I delayed to protect, I withheld to prepare, and I remained quiet to anchor your confidence in me rather than in outcomes. Now the heavens are opening, and you will see that every not yet was a divine just wait. Romans 8:28 was not just written for your comfort, it was written for your confirmation. All things work together for good to those who love God. Even the things that seem to work against you were secretly working for you. You thought the enemy had the upper hand, but I used his attacks as training. You thought the detour ruined your timing, but it was the detour that preserved your destiny. Every disappointment, every delay, every painful chapter is now being woven into a story of redemption. My fingerprints are all over your past, even the parts that felt like failure. Nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the betrayal, not the waiting. What looked like fragments is now forming into fulfillment. I'm the God who repurposes pain, who turns graves into gardens, who takes ashes and reveals beauty. You are stepping into a Romans 8:28 moment, where hindsight meets holiness. The puzzle pieces are locking into place. What once felt random now reveals design. Soon you will lift your eyes and say, it all worked together because it did. Because I made sure it would. Heaven is saying, now the hidden tapestry begins to reveal its pattern. What once seemed like scattered threads of confusion are being woven together into something breathtakingly beautiful. The Spirit whispers that nothing about your journey was random. Every season had purpose, even those you tried to escape. You will soon look back and recognize that divine orchestration has been at work all along. The friendships that fell away, the opportunities that dissolved, the long nights that tested your endurance, they were all brushstrokes in the masterpiece of your becoming. Heaven's perspective now begins to unfold. What felt like chaos was divine choreography. You were being positioned, even when you thought you were being passed over. Every unanswered question will soon be replaced with quiet knowing. The Spirit is unveiling how heaven used human limitation to draw forth your divine expansion. Even the closed chapters are now being redeemed, their ink rewritten in grace. The same tears that blurred your vision will now baptize you into clarity. You will stand in awe, realizing that heaven was not delaying your destiny. Heaven was defining it. The Spirit reveals that every betrayal that pierced your heart was secretly a bridge to your destiny. The people who left you, the promises that were broken, the trust that was mishandled, all of it was necessary to set you free from attachments that could not carry the weight of your calling. Heaven's protection often wears the disguise of rejection. Those exits were not abandonment. They were divine evacuation routes from misaligned spaces. Each disappointment was a doorway, redirecting you toward authenticity. The Spirit says that what once felt like the deepest wound will soon be remembered as the place where healing began. You were being refined in the fire, so that when you rise without residue. Heaven used loss to reveal loyalty, exposure to birth discernment. The lesson was never to harden you, but to holy you, to make your spirit pure enough to hold sacred purpose. Those who left your life did not derail your path. They defined your borders. Now the same heart that once bled will beat with new rhythm, strong, wise, and unshakably anchored in divine purpose. Heaven is declaring that what you mistook as being left behind was in truth being set apart. You were hidden for holiness, not forgotten in failure. The Spirit says you were never meant to fit where compromise was required. You wondered why others seemed to move faster, to prosper sooner, to find their platforms while you lingered in obscurity. But heaven was protecting your preparation. There is a sacred difference between delay and divine development. The Spirit hid you so that no one could mishandle what was still maturing. In quiet seasons, heaven was teaching you to find identity without applause, confidence without confirmation, and faith without visibility. The secret places where you prayed, wept, and wrestled are the very places heaven now calls your altar of anointing. The hidden work of obedience has built an unseen foundation that cannot be shaken. You are not behind schedule. You are right on time, heaven's time. The moment of unveiling draws near, and those who once overlooked you will witness what heaven always saw in you. Your hiddenness was your halo all along. The Spirit speaks of protection that looked like disappointment. The doors that refused to open were not withholding your promise. They were shielding your peace. Heaven saw the motives, the traps, the premature opportunities that could have fractured your focus. Every unanswered invitation, every declined connection, every quiet no was an act of mercy. The Spirit reminds you that some platforms are premature altars, beautiful but dangerous to the unprepared. Heaven would rather delay your visibility than diminish your vitality. While you cried over what was lost, heaven was rejoicing over what was preserved. You may not have known it, but angels were stationed at crossroads you never reached, deflecting harm, rerouting your steps, and whispering, "Wait." Heaven's timing is precision, not postponement. Each restriction was redirection. The Spirit says, "You will thank me for every no that protected your yes." What once felt like delay will soon appear as deliverance, because what is coming now fits perfectly, not forced, not fragile, but divinely fashioned. The Spirit now brings understanding. Every season that stripped you bare was a season that strengthened your roots. Heaven pruned you not to punish you, but to prepare you. When the branches of your plans were cut back, it was only so that your character could deepen. Growth often begins in loss. You were asked to release things that felt essential, but heaven knew they were temporary. The pruning created space for new fruit, peace that endures, joy that overflows, wisdom that sustains. The Spirit says you were never losing. You were learning. Each removal was a refining. Like a tree shaped by the wind, you grew strong through resistance. Heaven saw your resilience and smiled, not because you suffered, but because you stayed rooted when you had every reason to wither. And now, the same soil that once held your tears will soon hold your testimony. You are about to see the harvest of hidden faithfulness. What once felt like emptiness will reveal itself as expectancy fulfilled. Heaven is saying, this was never the end. This was the establishing. Heaven is saying, the atmosphere around you is changing. What once felt heavy is beginning to lift. There is a spiritual shift underway, subtle yet undeniable, like the stirring of wind before dawn. The Spirit whispers that you are stepping out of a wilderness season and into revelation. The weight you carried for so long was never meant to stay. It was meant to strengthen. Now that strength will serve as your foundation for what's next. You may feel the unease of transition, that sacred tension between endings and beginnings. But heaven wants you to know, this is not instability. This is shift. The very ground beneath you is aligning with divine order. The voices that once confused you are falling silent. The fog that once clouded your vision is lifting. You are standing at the edge of clarity, and the air itself feels different because it is. The spiritual climate is turning in your favor. Things that resisted you before will now begin to respond to you. Heaven is rearranging circumstances, drawing the unseen into sight. The Spirit says, the wait is over, the wind has changed. The Spirit reveals that the night is lifting and the dawn is breaking. This is the sacred moment when hidden things begin to make sense. The long darkness was not punishment. It was preservation. Heaven kept you in shadow until you could bear the light. Now, as the first rays of understanding stretch across your soul, you will begin to see truth where confusion once reigned. The Spirit says you will look back and see that even your waiting had rhythm, divine pauses marking the tempo of purpose. The horizon before you is glowing with new opportunity. The morning after the storm is here, and what once looked like wreckage will soon reveal renewal. Heaven declares that this new light will not only illuminate your path, but it will also heal your past. The same fire that once burned you will now warm you. The same tests that once broke you will now testify for you. The night was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to define you. The Spirit whispers, welcome the dawn, for it brings the clarity your heart has longed for. Heaven is unveiling the masterpiece that was once only a mystery. The Spirit says, the artist's hand never left the canvas. Each unseen stroke, every shadowed corner of your life had meaning. Now heaven turns the portrait toward you, and you will gasp at its beauty. The colors of your pain and the shades of your perseverance have blended into a picture of purpose. The Spirit reminds you that artists often work in silence. The masterpiece takes form long before it is revealed. Heaven was painting while you were praying. You could not see it, but you could feel the brush moving, the moments of stillness, the swirls of uncertainty, the layering of lessons. Now, as light strikes the canvas, revelation dawns. Every hue had harmony. What seemed random was refined. What seemed wasted was woven into wonder. Heaven is saying, you are the living art of divine patience. The image is whole. The process is complete. The unseen years were not lost time. They were creative time. And now the world will witness what heaven always saw in you, a finished work of grace. The Spirit reveals that what you once called pain is being renamed purpose. Heaven has rewritten the labels of your past. Where there was rejection, there is now redirection. Where there was loss, there is legacy. You thought the breaking was the end, but it was the blueprint. Heaven turned your wounds into wisdom, your scars into strategy. You are not emerging empty-handed. You are emerging equipped. The Spirit says you will soon speak from a place of healed authority, your words carrying power because they have been proven in fire. The shift is not only around you, It is within you. Your mind is aligning with divine truth, your heart beating in rhythm with heaven's timing. You are beginning to see that even your weakness was weaponized for victory. Heaven took what was meant to destroy you and transformed it into the very thing that defines your strength. The Spirit whispers, "You will no longer identify by your pain, but by your purpose." This is the internal shift, the renewing of your mind, the reclaiming of your name, the awakening of your assignment. Heaven announces that the shift is complete. The winds of transition have carried you through the unknown, and you have emerged different, lighter, wiser, stronger. The Spirit says, the old weight no longer fits where you are going. You cannot wear yesterday's grief in tomorrow's glory. This is the moment of divine exchange, ashes for beauty, mourning for joy, heaviness for praise. Heaven's hand is resting upon your shoulder, turning you gently toward the new. You will feel peace where you once felt pressure, stillness where you once felt striving. This is not the end of a storm, but the start of still waters. The shift is not something you must make happen. It has already begun. The spiritual alignment is active, the atmosphere ripe with newness. The Spirit declares, step forward. The season that shaped you is now the season that will showcase you. You have survived the sifting, and now comes the shining. The ground beneath you has changed. It is fertile now. Heaven says, this is your new beginning. Walk in it with joy. Now comes the gentle work of release. The storms have passed, the air has cleared, and what remains is the sacred stillness where healing begins. You no longer need to hold the pieces of what broke. They have already served their purpose. Let the anger dissolve. Let the questions rest. The journey has stretched your heart wide enough to carry both pain and peace, and now peace is choosing you. Forgiveness is not about erasing what happened. It is about freeing yourself from reliving it. The weight that once defined you is lifting because you are finally learning that you were never meant to carry it alone. This is the season where you stop rehearsing the hurt and start remembering the lesson. What once felt like loss is transforming into wisdom. The soul that was once restless is being restored. Every ache is softening into understanding, every scar into strength. You are not who you were when the storm began. You are wiser, deeper, kinder, stronger. This is the moment where the heart exhales and says, I survived, and I still believe. Let go of the guilt for not seeing the signs sooner, for trusting the wrong people, for staying longer than you should have. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. Growth always looks messy in motion. The redirections, the missteps, even the heartbreaks, they all carried lessons that have now become part of your discernment. Release the self-blame. It only chains you to what no longer exists. The past has done its work. You are no longer being tested. You are being trusted. Trust yourself again. Your intuition, your discernment, your ability to recognize divine timing. You have been refined, not ruined. The journey that once confused you is now carving out compassion within you. You will lead others not from theory, but from experience. There is power in your healed perspective, beauty in your boundaries, and peace in knowing that nothing was wasted. Breathe deeply. You are forgiven. You are free. You are finally learning to be gentle with yourself. Clarity is not just returning, it is expanding. The fog that once hung over your spirit is clearing, revealing colors you could not see before. What felt like darkness was simply a period of divine recalibration. You are beginning to notice the purpose woven into every thread of your story. The conversations that ended abruptly, the opportunities that slipped through your hands, the seasons that seemed barren, they all contributed to your becoming. Now your vision stretches beyond what was lost to what is being born. The mind that once replayed regrets now receives revelation. You no longer question why it happened. You marvel at how it shaped you. Peace flows where confusion used to dwell. What once consumed your energy no longer controls your emotions. You are learning to live from the inside out, to let stillness guide you rather than anxiety. This is the clarity after the storm, the understanding that turns pain into poetry. You finally see that you never fell apart. You are falling into alignment. This is the season where old stories lose their power. You no longer define yourself by who hurt you, what left you, or what didn't work out. You are being rewritten by grace. Every label that was placed upon you by fear, failure, or others' misunderstanding is being peeled away. What remains is your true identity, chosen, resilient, whole. You do not have to chase closure. Clarity itself is closure. You understand now that people can only meet you as deeply as they have met themselves, and that releases the need for resentment. The peace you feel now is not shallow relief. It is sacred awareness. You can bless what broke you because it built you. You can bless those who left because they led you closer to yourself. The healing is not loud. It is steady, honest, and lasting. You are no longer fighting to be understood. You are content to be aligned. You stand taller, lighter, freer. The pain no longer owns your story. Purpose does. You are standing at the threshold of peace, and for the first time, you are not rushing toward what's next. You have learned that healing has its own holy timing. What once consumed you has lost its hold because understanding has taken its place. The same memories that once triggered tears now evoke gratitude. You see the divine fingerprints on every moment, even the ones that hurt the most. This is restoration, not as a return to what was, but as a revelation of who you've become. You are no longer searching for answers. You are embodying them. The war within has quieted, and in its silence you hear something new. Calm confidence, steady faith, deep joy. The atmosphere around you carries the sound of completion. The past has nothing left to prove, and the future has nothing to fear. You are ready, not because everything is perfect, but because everything finally makes sense. The healing is complete enough for the next beginning. The unveiling begins quietly, almost imperceptibly, like dawn creeping over the horizon after years of night. Pieces that never fit now lock perfectly into place. You realize that the very events you once cursed were the stepping stones that carried you here. Every unanswered prayer, every disappointment, every delay, they now form the shape of purpose fulfilled. It's as if heaven itself has turned the page, and suddenly you can read what was once blurred. You see what you were protected from, and what you were being prepared for. The doors that closed weren't rejection. They were rerouting. The people who left weren't punishment. They were protection. You stand in the light of understanding, and it feels like peace wearing revelation's crown. Nothing is missing. Nothing was wasted. The script that once seemed chaotic reveals its divine symmetry. This is the moment when hindsight becomes holy sight. What once hurt now hums with harmony. You finally see every valley was a vision in disguise. It's as if time itself bows in reverence to this realization, that you were never late, only being aligned. The currents that once pulled against you were guiding you to deeper waters. The pauses that felt cruel were heaven's way of pacing you for what's coming next. You no longer fear the process. You honor it. The patience you learned in pain has become the power that sustains your purpose. What was once a whisper of faith is now a roar of certainty. You understand what John 13:7 meant when it said, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." Later has arrived. The mystery has become meaning. You can see it now. Every closed door had your name written on the other side of something better. Every ending was a setup for your arrival. This is what divine timing looks like when it ripens. Effortless alignment. What was once impossible now feels inevitable because it was always ordained. You're not behind schedule. You are right on divine time. The rush to catch up has ended because you realize you were never behind. You were being refined. The detours were deliberate. The delays were divine. The same grace that carried you through confusion is now crowning you with clarity. You don't have to strive anymore. You only have to step. The future no longer intimidates you because it feels familiar. Your spirit recognizes what it was made for. Genesis 50:20 echoes softly in your heart. What was meant for evil, God turned for good, and you can feel it, the turnaround, the restoration, the sense that what once broke you now bows to bless you. You are not just walking into a new season, you are walking as a new creation. You have crossed from survival into significance. Every shadow has served its purpose. Every delay has delivered you here, to this sacred moment where everything aligns. The shift is complete. What was once uncertain now feels like steady ground. You sense peace wrapping itself around your story, sealing every open wound with wisdom. You are ready, not to prove, but to proceed. The lessons of your past no longer sting, they sing. The melody of your life has changed keys from minor to major, from sorrow to symphony. You stand taller, speak softer, love deeper. This is what divine maturity looks like, not perfection, but perspective. You no longer question what you lost. You bless what remains. The horizon ahead glows with opportunity, and you finally have the faith to walk toward it without fear. You are no longer waiting for a sign. You are living as one. Your story itself has become prophecy, proof that pain can give birth to purpose, that endings can evolve into new beginnings. The shift was never about moving you. It was about revealing you. Let this be your prayer. Father, thank you for every closed door that protected me, every delay that developed me, and every storm that shaped me. Thank you for teaching me that your silence was not absence, but orchestration. I release the past with gratitude and receive this new season with peace. Strengthen me to trust your timing and to walk boldly into the purpose you have prepared. I trust the shift, not because I understand it, but because I know you are in it. Amen. And now breathe. The story that once felt fragmented has found its form. What once felt like loss now feels like alignment. You have reached the revelation promised at the beginning. Everything truly had to happen this way. Faith activation, type, I trust the shift. In the comments, if you believe that heaven is finally revealing the reason behind your journey. The waiting was not wasted. The shift has begun, and now peace follows purpose.